It being 10 o'clock, I'll call to order the, excuse me. I'll call to order the Monday, April 14th, 2025 meeting of Policy and Procedures Committee. I assume, excuse me, as we have a shortage, I believe this chair appoints Commissioner Van Dorn as a member of the committee ad hoc. I assume we have had a chance to read the minutes of the previous meeting. Boy. If so, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Being done, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign, motion carries. Old business. Do we have any old business to conduct?
No, sir.
We have no old business. Moving to new business, personnel handbook. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I just want to take a moment for those of you that are new on this committee. There are a number of county policies and procedures that this board will review on an as needed basis or as the chair would like to review. One of those is the employee handbook. This personnel employee handbook was reviewed, and adopted in December of 2024. And we thought we were good until the state legislature decided that we needed to include earned sick time in the things that we do. So although the board did approve a separate policy for sick time, we also wanted it included in the employee handbook. So that is one of the big changes that you will see. I don't know if you've all had an opportunity to take a look at it, but the earned sick time is actually starting on page 12 of the actual employee handbook. I'm going there first because it's the biggest change. But so what we did is we did incorporate that into this policy, and that earned sick time became effective on February 21st. And it is at this point being calculated and tracked for all eligible county employees. You will note that we did also include at the bottom of page 13, as the part of the policy is the disclaimer. We wanted that in there because we want to make sure that the employees realize that as things change with this policy, it will change at the state level, not necessarily because our Board of Commissioners are making the changes. We are just required to follow suit by law. So we wanted to make sure that they realize that if things are taken away, if things are given, that's coming from the state and not necessarily from all of you. The only other thing that we added at this time was on page 4 of the policy. I'll wait for you to get back to that. I apologize, Jen. So 2 paragraphs above the title that says observed holidays is a paragraph that says regular part-time employees may be granted a leave with pay up to 3 working days by the department head, provided the funeral takes place during the time they were normally scheduled to work. So this falls under the category of bereavement.
Page 5.
Page 5, I'm sorry, it's page 5. I said 4, I apologize. This is something that was agreed upon last year. It was part of the collective bargaining agreements, and it was approved as part of our overall processes. However, when the employee handbook was revised and approved in December, this paragraph was inadvertently not included. So we wanted to make sure that we did get it included in this version. So those are the only 2 things that have changed in the policy in the handbook since the December adoption. Sure. So I don't know if you have any questions or concerns procedurally, so that you're aware. What happens typically is when the policies come to you, they've already been vetted and prepared through our office. They've gone through Corporation Counsel's review and their vetting, so that when they come to you, they are pretty well ready to go. However, that does not mean that you may read them and see something that someone else didn't, or you may have questions, you may want something revised. And at that point, if you want revisions, we will take note of those. They will go back to our office. We will make those revisions and then it would come back to you at your next meeting under old business. If you were to move something forward from this committee, whether it's the first, as an example, the policy today, if you were to move this forward, this would actually appear at the Board of Commissioners meeting underneath the committee report out section. So the chair typically then brings that forward for approval at the full board at the, under the committee report outs. So if you, I just want to make sure that we covered all those procedures with our newer commissioners.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
Commissioner Van Dorn.
So today we're approving the personnel handbook.
Today, it would be, if you agreed with the changes that were made, it would be to recommend the personnel handbook to the Board of Commissioners for approval.
And those changes, is the airport driving policy part of that?
That's a separate policy that we're going to be looking at in just a minute.
Okay, but is that included in the handbook? No.
No,
Okay,
no, the handbook are things that apply to all employees.
okay, not necessarily all the policies.
No, this is what applies to employees as part of the hiring and daily operations.
Gotcha.
I might state for Commissioner Blanco's edification, this was pretty well vetted last year, towards the end of the year, and actually adopted in December by the previously sitting commission. So 6 of the commissioners at least have had an opportunity to vet this very well, going
Sure.
through research. So if there's any
Yes.
questions,
Yeah.
make sure, I would say one more thing.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, on introduction, at the bottom where it says adoption, that date will have to be changed
Okay.
to the date that is known as adopted.
I would move recommendation to the board.
I would support that.
It's moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Very good. Now we'll move to the airport driving policy.
So this is another one of the policies that we wanted to bring forward to you. The last time that this was amended was in 2019. This is a policy that the last Policy and Procedures Committee that had been seated, they were not able to get to this policy for their review. So that's why you're seeing an older date on the last time reviewed. What we usually do with these more departmental related policies that we have, we send them to that department and have them review it to make sure that everything in the policy is still pertinent. They review it to see if there's any additional information that should be included or any information that needs to be removed. In this particular case, it was sent to the airport manager. He reviewed it and indicated that he felt that all was still applicable and it would be ready to move forward. So it was put in our current policy format, assigned a policy number, and is before you for review and comment.
Commissioner Van Dorn.
And the only change I saw was a typo. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's the whole, otherwise. Okay.
Okay.
There are no questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I will make that motion to approve.
Support.
It's moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We'll move now down to other business. You all received a handout. Mr. Murphy will discuss this with me.
So with your actions today, both the employee handbook and the airport driving on airport grounds policy will be presented to the Board of Commissioners for action. What I've handed out to you is a sheet that kind of tracks all of the different policies and procedures that this committee has been responsible for in the past. Anything that is in white, or I should say is not highlighted, was reviewed by the previous group of commissioners sitting on policy and procedures. And so it would be up to you and the chair of this committee to decide whether you want to bring those back and review them again Typically, if the department that is in charge of a policy knows that there are changes, they will notify us, and then we will bring that to your attention that, hey, a law changed, something happened, that we need to adjust this policy. Currently, the only policies that you have not approved are highlighted. So I will review them here. That it is the photo ID badges policy, which was created or last reviewed in 2018. There is a clean air ordinance. So I am currently reviewing that to determine whether that's truly an ordinance or a policy. So I need to vet some of that out before I bring that to you. You just approved or recommended, I should say, the airport driving policy. Then we have a very generic vehicle use policy for all county vehicles that needs to be brought forward, which we are currently reviewing. The enhanced public participation policy is highlighted here. This is a newer policy that was created as we began to, when we updated the systems in this room and we began to go live with our meetings. However, as we move forward with the possibility of fully being online and taking comments off of Zoom from those that are viewing us at a real time with the meetings, we are going to need to revisit that policy. We are currently investigating the pros and cons of doing that and what that looks like. So we will be bringing that forward to you potentially in the very near future. The other one that we are looking at right now is the IT and security policy. There's a lot in that policy, and just when we think that we have it ready to be brought forward, something else changes, and so we're still working on that one.
Sure.
So those are the policies right now. So really anything that's highlighted is what is outdated at this point and needs to be brought back to you. However, if you see a policy on here that you would like to just take a look at, we can always bring it forward for you to have, to look at and consider. I will indicate that at the last group of commissioners did create a couple new policies, which was the Code of Ethics policy. And where's the other one? There was,
Conflict of interest,
pardon?
the conflict of interest.
Yes, thank you. Conflict of interest and Code of Ethics. Those were new policies that were created. And so I just want to kind of pass along that if you have an idea on a policy, we can bring it forward for discussion to figure out whether it's something you actually want to implement or not. We're not locked into just these policies. I also want to point out that several of our departments have their own sets of policies, operational policies that do not necessarily come before this board. They are for the department. As an example, the sheriff's office have a number of policies and procedures that they need to follow, but those are not subject to commission approval. Those are pretty much by law things that they have to do. So a lot of the departments do have their own individual policies on top of these policies and procedures.
Okay.
So if that'll answer questions.
Mr. Van Dorn.
Couple questions. So they have their own policies and procedures. I understand that. Probably health department, sheriff's department, all those, but if there's one that is in the same area of our policy, the county policy supersedes.
Yes, yeah, these policies in general apply to all departments. They have to comply with these. So at a minimum, they have to comply with these. A lot of times what you see within the departments is they may have something that's even more restrictive or more specific to their line of work.
Sure.
And then number two is that, all of them that you talked about here that are highlighted, are under review, other than the photo ID badges. Is that ready for review?
I need to go back and look at that and see where we left that one.
Okay.
I know that it's something that we were looking at, and I don't recall where we're at on that one right now.
We were changing the badge, right? Wasn't that one?
Well, part of that is that the photo ID policy also includes badges and policies that apply to the court and access to the court and what that looks like in the courts. And the courts now have their own separate security policy. And so I'm trying to figure out how our county ID policy interfaces with the policy that they have in the courts, because things have significantly changed since the origination of that photo ID policy.
And so the rest of them, as you're reviewing them, for instance, the clean air ordinance and the vehicle policy and the enhanced public participation IT, you'll bring back to us when, in the near future here to.
That's what we have done with all these policies. We will pull them and review them. In most cases, we throw them up, like I said, to Corporation Council just to make sure that there isn't something that has changed that we're not aware of. We want to make sure that the county is in compliance with any and all laws that may apply. And then we bring that forward to you so that you have an opportunity to review them, become familiar with them, and then ask any other questions.
Sure.
Got it.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I think that's a great way to handle it, that the department heads usually are, they're gonna be the ones to know that something needs to change or, and that I just think it's a good system, so.
As it relates to the photo ID policy, if the courts in fact have a separate policy, one would assume not conflicting with our policy, might it be just available for us to adopt it, to adopt the court policy as part and parcel of the photo ID policy?
Well, keep in mind, we have no authority over the courts.
Right.
And so their policies are adopted through their chief judge. If we were to get a copy of it, it would simply be, assuming there was no security issues with it, that we wouldn't want to divulge. It would simply just be for your information. There would be no action required by this board.
I understand. Further questions, comments? Hearing none. Again, we have no public for a public comment. Commissioner comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, Commissioner Van Dorn.
You're fine. I mean, just for Beth's information, I mean, we were all here, but the administrator's job, along with our lead last year, Commissioner Jenkins, did a tremendous job of going through all these. And what we did in the last couple of years is some of them, as you can see on the originating date, some of them probably may have not even gone back to the originating date. And we reviewed each and every one of them and then renewed them at the commission level just so that there was a new date on it. So everyone knows that, they've been looked at since 1913 or whenever it was. Right.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Great job on the
Yes.
administrator staff. Thank you.
Further comment? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would make that motion.
Support.
Moving support, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign, motion